The arrival of Islam in Russia dates back many years and is not a new event. Well before the cities of Moscow and St. Petersburg were established, Islam had already made its mark in the regions that now belong to Russia. Rather than being viewed as an outside faith in Russia, Islam has played a vital role in the country's history for more than 1,100 years. As the Russian Empire grew in both eastern and southern directions, it included areas where Islam had been present for a long time. This growth meant that Russia came to oversee a continually increasing Muslim community, which led the imperial rulers to implement methods for both control and religious harmony. Thus, the experience of Islam within the Russian Empire was shaped by a complex dynamic, reflecting elements of oppression, integration, suspicion, and acknowledgement. When the Soviet Union fell apart in 1991, millions of Muslims managed to hold on to their faith, despite being isolated from significant Islamic institutions for many years. While some had limited knowledge of Islamic teachings, they continued to observe practices such as fasting during Ramadan, following Islamic funeral customs, and adhering to dietary rules. The disintegration of the Soviet Union in 1991 was a pivotal moment for Muslim communities across the former USSR. After enduring more than 70 years of suppression, Islam re-emerged as a faith, a cultural symbol, and a catalyst for social transformation. This revival is especially noticeable in post-Soviet Russia, where Muslims are reconnecting with their faith and revitalizing their religious organizations in a landscape that offers both promise and challenges. Today, over 30 years after the collapse of the USSR, Islam has firmly re-established its place in the religious and cultural fabric of the Russian Federation. It ranks as the second largest religion in the country, with about 15 to 20 million adherents, accounting for nearly 10 to 15% of the total population. Nonetheless, this notable presence coexists with a complex reality characterized by official acknowledgement, governmental oversight, issues of identity, and international influences. Since the early 2000s, Islam has gained much more visibility in Russia's public sphere. This shift is particularly apparent in major cities and areas with significant Muslim populations, where Islamic practices are now more prominent, confident, and well-structured. The building and restoration of mosques clearly illustrate this evident revival. In Moscow, the Cathedral Mosque, also known as the Main Mosque of Moscow, underwent extensive reconstruction and was officially opened in 2015. It can host up to 10,000 worshippers and highlights the Kremlin's support for official Islam. In Chechnya, since 2008, Grozny has been home to the Heart of Chechnya Mosque, one of the largest mosques in Europe, designed after the Blue Mosque in Istanbul. In 2019, another grand mosque was opened there, capable of accommodating over 30,000 worshippers. In Tatarstan, the Kolsarev Mosque in Kazan, rebuilt in 2005, serves as a significant emblem of Muslim Tatar identity. Located in the center of the Kazan Kremlin next to Orthodox structures, it symbolizes religious coexistence. These places of worship, once overlooked or pushed to the sidelines, are now prominent and even attract visitors, including tourists and official delegations. Significant Muslim celebrations, which were previously private or conducted in secrecy during the Soviet era, are now celebrated openly. Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha events draw tens of thousands of worshippers into the streets of Moscow, Kazan, Makhachkala, Grozny, and Ufa. Major thoroughfares are often closed to traffic to facilitate large-scale prayers. The media in Russia increasingly reports on these celebrations, frequently showcasing striking images of large crowds praying, which helps embed Islam in the national mindset. In certain autonomous regions, like Chechnya, Dagestan, and Tatarstan, these holidays are designated as official public holidays, reinforcing the institutional acknowledgement of the Muslim community. There has also been a noticeable increase in the visibility of Islam within Russian media and cultural spheres. Islamic channels, including Alar TVD and Islam TV, air religious, educational, and cultural content in Russian, Tatar, and Chechen languages. Digital platforms provide Quran translations, spiritual reminders, and online learning opportunities, especially aimed at young people in cities. Moscow, Kazan, and Grozny host numerous events like conferences, Islamic cultural festivals, and Muslim book fairs on a regular basis. There is a rise in Muslim writers, rappers, and artists focused on social issues who discuss their faith, spirituality, or their identity as both Russian and Muslim. As a result, Islam is evolving into a vibrant part of culture that is both spiritual and social, rather than just a private community practice. The new wave of Russian Muslims, many of whom were born after the fall of the USSR, are increasingly proud of their heritage. In universities, young Muslim women are sometimes seen wearing the hijab confidently, despite occasional disputes in certain areas. Young Muslims actively utilize social media platforms to express their beliefs, inquire about religious matters, or keep up with contemporary religious leaders. Some Muslim business owners are developing Islamic fashion lines, halal eateries, or religiously themed mobile applications, showcasing a contemporary and urban take on Islam. Although it may face criticism or stigma, this increased visibility aids in normalizing the presence of Muslims in the public sphere of Russia. The rising acknowledgement of Islam in Russia goes beyond just building mosques. It includes a wide range of religious activities, cultural expressions, and community programs. This signifies a more self-assured, well-structured, and integrated community, though it remains cautious regarding political and identity-related issues. Islam in Russia is not uniform. It exhibits diversity in terms of geography, culture, and beliefs. The Tatars and Bashkirs adhere to the Hanafi branch of Islam, which tends to be moderate and influenced by the former Soviet educational frameworks. In the North Caucasus, including Chechnya, Dagestan, and Ingushetia, Islam tends to be more conservative, with Sufism as the prevalent form, although Salafism has attracted the interest of some younger individuals. In migration hotspots like Moscow and St. Petersburg, the practice of Islam is mainly observed among immigrant workers from Central Asia, namely Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan, who introduce their unique customs and rituals. This variety adds richness to the community but can also lead to conflicts, especially between traditional Islamic practices and stricter interpretations. The Russian government has a mixed stance. It endorses a moderate Islam aligned with the state's values while harshly suppressing anything considered as religious extremism. The Kremlin collaborates closely with specific muftis and spiritual leaders, providing them with indirect financial support. Additionally, security forces keep a vigilant watch over mosques, religious schools, and Islamic organizations. Broad anti-extremism legislation permits the banning of Islamic literature, the detention of preachers, or the shutdown of mosques, often based on ambiguous criteria. The state promotes the concept of a traditional Russian Islam that aligns with the nation's patriotic and cultural ethos. This strategy aims to differentiate peaceful Islamic practices from what the authorities label as political or radical Islam. Several patterns are observable among younger Muslims in Russia. There is a revival of faith, marked by increased religious practices, Quran studies, and mosque visits. There is an expanding awareness of Muslim identity, frequently associated with experiences of discrimination or marginalization in a primarily Slavic and Orthodox environment. A small segment of youth, often in search of direction, might be drawn to more radical ideologies, even under strict repression. Efforts, particularly through social media and locally trained imams, are underway to educate young people about a moderate Islam that is rooted in Russian traditions and distanced from extremism. Ultimately, Islam in Russia holds strategic importance on the global stage. Russia aims to act as a mediator between Western nations and the Muslim world. It fosters close ties with various Muslim countries, such as Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, and occasionally backs specific regimes, like in Syria, while using religious rhetoric. The official narrative endorses a multi-faith Russia, asserting Islam as an integral part of the Russian identity, on equal footing with Orthodox Christianity. Islam has a long-standing history in Russia and is currently experiencing significant transformations. For over a millennium, it has been present in what is now Russian territory, enduring the rule of the Tsar, Soviet oppression, and the tumult of the post-Cold War period. At present, it is an integral part of the nation's history and culture, while also confronting contemporary political, social, and identity issues. With more than 15 million adherents, Islam in Russia is far from a fringe belief system. It is organized, structured, and formally acknowledged in various republics within the federation. The existence of modern mosques, well-established religious institutions, Quranic educational facilities, and a nurturing Islamic intellectual environment indicate a genuine spiritual revival. This revival extends beyond just the religious domain. Islam significantly influences the identity of historically Muslim groups such as the Tatars, Bashkirs, Chechens, and Dagestanis, who find sources of pride, tradition, and cultural significance through it in a Russia characterized by central authority and orthodoxy. In spite of external pressures, Russian Muslims remain committed to their faith, confidently express their identity, and engage in societal matters, often embodying grace and strength. Their role, rather than posing a challenge to Russia, has the potential to be a significant benefit if acknowledged and valued.